You've been following the rules they gave you. Study hard, work harder, wait for success. But deep down, you know something's off, because no matter how hard you push, some people seem to effortlessly bend reality to their will. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. That's access to a knowledge hidden for centuries. The Law of 33rd isn't just another self-help trick. It's a blueprint that links directly to the mind of God, a system of ancient laws that secret societies, like the Freemasons, Rosicrucians, and elite circles have guarded fiercely. They understood how the law of the imagination and the law of the spirit control everything you see and everything you don't. Now, here's where most never get in. This knowledge demands responsibility. Few dare to even seek it. But if you're serious about unlocking this level of power, if you want to finally break out of the loop they've trapped you in, then you're exactly who this message was meant for. And before we continue, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on. This journey is just beginning, and you won't want to miss what comes next, because once you see how deep this system goes, you'll never look at your reality the same way again. You know that number that just won't go away, the enigmatic number 33. It appears like an ancient whisper, passing through history at several key moments. We're talking about the highest degree in Freemasonry, the famous 33rd, and also the age at which Jesus, according to tradition, was crucified. Coincidence perhaps for some, but for those who begin to study the hidden layers of reality, they realize that the mind of God manifests itself through codes that few dare to decipher. What few people know is that even our own body carries this mystical symbol. The spine has 33 vertebrae, as if biology itself were attuned to the law of 33rd, like a reminder engraved in the DNA that there is something greater, an intelligent design operating behind the curtain. We're not talking about simple numerology, but a subtle pattern that points to the knowledge that has always been before our eyes. And that's where the secret societies come in. These are groups that, since ancient times, have dedicated themselves to studying, protecting and manipulating these secrets, guardians of a knowledge that transcends the obvious. But what exactly do these societies know about the law of the spirit? That's when it gets really interesting. You know that number that just refuses to disappear, the enigmatic number 33. It shows up like an ancient whisper, weaving through history at key moments. We're talking about the highest degree in Freemasonry, the famous 33rd, and also the age at which Jesus, according to tradition, was crucified. Coincidence? Maybe for some, but for those who start exploring the hidden layers of reality, it's clear that the mind of God expresses itself through codes few dare to decipher. What most people don't realize is that even our own body carries this mystical symbol. The human spine has 33 vertebrae, as if biology itself was tuned to the law of 33rd, like a silent reminder encoded in our DNA that something greater is at work, a divine design operating behind the scenes. This isn't about simplistic numerology. It's about subtle patterns that point to knowledge that's always been right in front of us. And that's where the secret societies come into play. These groups for ages have dedicated themselves to studying, guarding, and manipulating these secrets, keepers of wisdom that transcends the obvious. But what exactly do these societies know about the law of the spirit? Now that's where things get really interesting. Throughout history, secret societies have always been a magnet for both fascination and suspicion. The Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, the Illuminati, names that carry the weight of mystery. But beyond the rumors, there's a consistent thread. These groups protect sacred knowledge, layers of wisdom linked directly to the mind of God, knowledge that teaches how to navigate the invisible forces shaping our lives. One of the most profound voices in this realm is Manly Palmer Hall, author of The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Hall didn't just study these teachings, he lived them. He revealed how these societies understood the law of the imagination, how the mind, when properly trained, could access realms most people dismiss as fantasy. But what if those fantasies were actually fragments of a higher reality? The law of 33rd isn't just about rank or symbols, it's a framework for ascending through layers of understanding. Hall explained how every number, every symbol holds energetic properties, and when properly applied, they serve as keys to unlocking mental and spiritual power. It's no accident that these teachings were guarded so fiercely by those who mastered them. Think about it. While most people struggle in chaos, chasing wealth and status blindly, initiates of these secret societies learned to move with purpose. They mastered the law of the spirit, aligning their intentions with forces far greater than their own ego. That's why you see powerful people pulling strings from behind curtains, seemingly untouched by the storms that ruin others, even today. This knowledge isn't entirely out of reach. Modern seekers find fragments of it through meditation, sacred geometry, and deep study of ancient texts. Books like Hall's, or even exploring Neville Goddard's work on imagination, reveal how these timeless laws operate. It's like being handed a map that most refuse to believe exists. But of course, not everyone is ready to handle this level of insight. Accessing the mind of God requires more than curiosity, demands responsibility, and that responsibility begins with understanding the very first law, the law of cause and effect, because nothing in this universe moves without consequence. The law of cause and effect is brutally simple, and yet, most people live as if it doesn't exist. Every thought you entertain, every decision you make, every word you speak sends out ripples into the universe, and, like a boomerang, those ripples return, often amplified. This is not superstition, it's the fundamental operating system of reality itself. The very coding behind the mind of God. Manly Palmer Hall emphasized this law because it exposes one of the biggest illusions: luck. There's no such thing as random success. Those who climb to the top have mastered the art of controlling causes. They align their thoughts with first principles, much like Warren Buffett evaluates investments by stripping away noise and focusing on core value. The law of 33rd teaches that higher understanding comes from seeing beyond surface effects. It's like watching a chess grandmaster who doesn't just react to moves, he's thinking 10 moves ahead. Every financial move, every business decision, every relationship interaction carries a consequence, visible or invisible. The truly wise never act blindly. For example, when someone chooses to invest time in reading the secret teachings of all ages or studying the principles of secret societies, they're planting seeds of understanding. Over time, those seeds blossom into intuition, clarity, and power. That's the law of the spirit at work, subtle but profoundly effective. Even in daily habits, this law reigns. The food you eat affects your health. The words you speak build or destroy relationships. The small choice to practice gratitude daily reshapes your mental state over time. These micro-causes accumulate, building a reality that either empowers or imprisons you. And yet, there's an even deeper force behind these causes, one that operates not just through logic, but through something far more powerful: the law of the imagination. Because before any action can manifest, it first takes form in the unseen theater of the mind. The law of the spirit is where the rules of the physical world begin to bend. While most people obsess over matter, money, possessions, achievements, those who truly study the mind of God know that everything starts in the unseen. Spirit precedes matter. What you see is merely a projection of invisible forces operating beneath the surface. Ancient Hermetic teachings spoke of this layering. Spirit gives rise to energy, energy gives rise to matter. This hierarchy is not theoretical, it's practical. For example, have you ever noticed how some people seem to heal themselves through sheer will and intention? That's not magic. It's alignment with the law of the spirit operating through their consciousness. The law of 33rd presents this understanding as a stairway, where each step takes you deeper into subtler realms of existence. The physical world is just the bottom rung. As you ascend, you begin to influence events with less physical effort and more mental precision. That's how leaders, visionaries, and so-called lucky individuals shape reality. They tap into spirit before they act. Consider practices like deep meditation, visualization, or even certain forms of prayer. They're not just spiritual fluff. They're tools to align your frequency with the higher layers of reality. Books like Neville Goddard's Feeling is the Secret Layout, how emotional alignment amplifies into Nuna, core piece of the law of the imagination. Manly Palmer Hall pointed out that most people live entirely reactive lives because they're trapped at the lowest level, pure matter. But those who understand the law of the spirit operate like skilled navigators, adjusting their internal state to alter external circumstances. It's a game most people don't even realize exists. And yet, even this incredible power hinges on one faculty above all others, the faculty that holds the real key to creation, the law of the imagination. Because without imagination, spirit has no form to manifest into reality. The law of the imagination is where creation truly happens. While action shapes the physical, imagination architects the blueprint. Every building, every invention, every revolution first lived inside someone's mind. That invisible movie playing behind your eyes, that's where the mind of God whispers possibilities most people dismiss as fantasy. Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge," and Neville Goddard took it even further, teaching that feeling is the secret ingredient. When you imagine with vivid emotion, you send signals into the fabric of reality. The law of 33rd frames this as tapping directly into the creative engine behind existence. Let's make this real. Think about a business idea you've dreamed of. Instead of simply hoping it works, imagine every detail: the satisfied clients, the revenue growing, the daily operations flowing smoothly. Feel the pride, the confidence, the joy. This isn't wishful thinking, it's conscious programming of reality, using the law of the spirit as your amplifier. But why does this work? Because the universe isn't a cold machine. It's an interactive field. Your thoughts and emotions act like frequencies that attract matching experiences. That's why people stuck in constant worry often manifests more problems. They're unconsciously using the law of the imagination against themselves. The secret societies understood this deeply. That's why their rituals often involved powerful symbols, chants, and visualizations. They were training initiates to shape reality through controlled imagination, aligning with the mind of God. It's not superstition, it's advanced mental science cloaked in symbolism. Mastering this law demands discipline. Mindless daydreaming doesn't cut it. Structured, consistent visualization backed by emotional certainty rewires your subconscious. Over time, you become a magnet for what you consistently envision. But even powerful imagination needs one more ingredient to truly reshape your life: intention. Here's where most people get stuck. They confuse desire with intention. Desire is often just wishful thinking, a vague hope without substance. Intention, however, is different. It's a firm decision. When you operate under the mind of God, you're not just wanting something, you've chosen it, claimed it. The law of 33rd views intention as the key that unlocks the door between imagination and reality. Think of someone who says, "I wish I were rich." That's desire. Now compare it to someone who declares, "I will build wealth by creating multiple income streams, learning from mentors, and mastering investments." That's intention, and it immediately activates the law of the imagination. With a clear target, intention guides action like a compass locked on true north. Manly Palmer Hall emphasized that true intention must be detached from anxiety. You don't beg the universe. You command it with confidence, knowing the law of the spirit responds to aligned energy. This detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you trust the process, much like planting a seed and allowing nature to do its work. Take entrepreneurs like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. Their intentions weren't passive wishes. They mapped clear outcomes, aligned resources, and moved forward relentlessly. They didn't hope for success. They operated as if success was inevitable, a perfect demonstration of intention empowered by imagination and spirit. Even in personal growth, this applies. Someone who merely wants to be fit might buy gym clothes and procrastinate, but one who intends to transform their bodies sets specific goals, hires a coach, tracks progress, and visualizes the end result daily. The secret societies taught this precision long ago. Align inner certainty with outer action. However, even with strong intention, obstacles arise. Fear, doubt, and old beliefs often resist this process. And that's where mastering internal resistance becomes the next essential step to fully harness the law of 33rd. Even the strongest intention can crash against an invisible wall. Internal resistance, fear, self-doubt, guilt, they act like silent anchors pulling you back. The mind of God may offer unlimited possibilities, but your subconscious often sabotages what your conscious mind desires. This is where mastery of the law of 33rd becomes an inner battle. David Hawkins, in his Letting Go method, describes resistance as unprocessed emotions stored within us. When ignored, they create friction against manifestation. You say you want wealth, love, or health, but old programming whispers, "You're not worthy. It's too risky." The law of the spirit can only flow freely through a vessel that's cleared of these blockages. The secret societies understood this centuries ago. Their initiations weren't random rituals. They were designed to confront inner shadows head-on by facing fear in controlled environments. Initiates trained their minds to operate beyond emotion-based resistance, aligning fully with the law of the imagination. For example, imagine you intend to launch a business. Logically, you've planned everything, but if deep inside you fear failure or judgment, you'll unconsciously self-sabotage, missing deadlines, hesitating on opportunities, doubting your own worth. This hidden resistance overrides your intention like malware in a computer system. Hawkins teaches that releasing resistance isn't about fighting it. Instead, you acknowledge the emotion fully, surrender to it without judgment, and allow it to dissolve. It's like clearing static, so your inner frequency can finally align with the mind of God. And once that static is gone, manifestation accelerates dramatically. As resistance fades, something beautiful happens. You move into flow. But true mastery doesn't stop at emotional alignment. The highest levels of the law of 33rd introduce a shift in identity itself, a leap into a new paradigm of existence. Most people live trapped in what I call the have-do-be paradigm. If I have money, I'll do what I want, and then I'll be happy. But the law of 33rd teaches the reverse. True power starts with being. Align with the mind of God internally first, and everything else follows. This is the shift from ego-driven survival to conscious creation. At the lowest level is the paradigm of having. People chase external validation, cars, houses, status symbols. Their happiness is always dependent on the next possession. It's a never-ending treadmill where fulfillment remains one purchase away. The secret societies always warn that this level is an illusion, a trap that enslaves the masses. The second level is doing. Here, people move beyond pure consumption. They work hard, take action, hustle. While better than passivity, it's still exhausting. Many entrepreneurs get stuck here. They're constantly grinding, never truly satisfied, believing hard work alone will unlock abundance. But hard work, without alignment with the law of the spirit, is limited. The highest paradigm is being. You become the person who naturally attracts what you desire. Instead of chasing success, you radiate it. Instead of forcing outcomes, you magnetize them. This is where the law of the imagination becomes most potent. When your identity fully embodies your vision, reality conforms with ease. Let's say someone wants to build wealth. At the being level, they no longer try to become wealthy. They study wealth, think like investors, carry themselves with confidence, and make decisions as though success is inevitable. They align with abundance at a core identity level, the purest alignment with the mind of God. The secret societies called this initiation into the higher self. It's not mystical, it's practical. You shift your self-image first, and the external world mirrors that shift. But how do you actually make that leap? That's where personal stories of transformation become the ultimate proof that these ancient principles work. Every theory becomes real when you live it. That's exactly what happened in my own journey. Years ago, I was stuck working a job that drained me, following routines that felt lifeless. I desired change, but desire wasn't enough. It was only when I discovered the law of 33rd that things truly shifted. I stopped wishing and began aligning with the mind of God. I immersed myself in the teachings of Manly Palmer Hall, Neville Goddard, and David Hawkins, not just reading but applying. I confronted my internal resistance daily, facing fears of failure, judgments from others, and my own limiting beliefs. Slowly, the law of the spirit began to flow through my intentions. With clarity, one of the most powerful tools was harnessing the law of the imagination. Each morning, I visualized my YouTube channel thriving, thousands of engaged viewers, meaningful content, lives being transformed. I didn't just see it, I felt it, as if it had already happened. That emotional certainty created a gravitational pull toward my goal. Challenges still appeared, of course. Algorithms shifted, growth stalled, self-doubt crept in. But I applied the letting go method relentlessly, releasing fear, detaching from outcomes, and staying in alignment. The secret societies teach that true mastery isn't avoiding obstacles, it's transcending them internally, so they lose power. And then it happened. 100,000 subscribers. What once seemed distant became inevitable. Not because I hacked the system or got lucky, but because I embodied the Creator's role, blending the mind of God, the law of the Spirit, and the law of the imagination into my daily practice. But this journey doesn't end here. The more I apply these principles, the more I realize how much deeper it all goes. That's why I created additional resources, including my ebook, to help others access this same transformative power and step fully into their own mastery. Now the question is simple. What will you do with this knowledge? You've seen how the law of 33rd, the law of the spirit, and the law of the imagination aren't just theories, they're the actual blueprint behind the lives of those who quietly shape this world. Are you willing to keep living inside the system, reacting to what happens, or will you finally step behind the curtain and become the architect of your own reality? What's been stopping you? Fear, doubt, old beliefs. The mind of God isn't reserved for a chosen few, but it demands action from those bold enough to claim it. Imagine where you could be 1 year from now if you applied even a fraction of what you've learned here. What if your finances, your relationships, your health, your entire existence aligned with your higher self? Can you afford to ignore that possibility? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's the first area of your life you're ready to take full control of? And if this opened your eyes even a little, do one more thing. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and join this community of people who are done waiting for permission to succeed. The next level is waiting, but only if you're ready to claim it.